Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video we are finishing up the series in which I rank all the NBA positions, and today we're going to be doing the centers. And this is a position that for a while in the NBA looked like it was on the downturn, but over the last handful of draft classes we've gotten a lot of really good big guys coming into the league, so this should definitely be an interesting list to take a look at. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy the NBA, then consider subscribing. I upload basically every single day. Okay, here we go. As you can see, we have Superstar, All-NBA, All-Star, Starter, Bench, and Bum categories. We have a starting center from all 30 NBA teams. As always, I did not make the players at the bottom, so if you think there's a player there that isn't actually a starter that should have been replaced by somebody else, I didn't make it. I made the columns on the left, I didn't make the players at the bottom. But for the most part, I found that these have been really accurate over here on Tiermaker. So we begin with Karl Anthony-Towns, which is arguably the most difficult one to grade in this entire thing, right? Because for me, it's between All-NBA and Superstar. And from a production standpoint, when Karl Anthony-Towns is right, he puts up superstar level production. However, the team, whether it's his fault or not, has never really had that much success except for the one time that they made the playoffs when Jimmy Butler was there, and then once he left, things went back down. For me personally, just because of the lack of team success when Karl Anthony-Towns is a focal point, I'm going All-NBA. Now, if he has a big year this year, improves defensively, increases his offensive production even further, and this is a team that, looks to be a real threat to make the postseason now with D'Angelo Russell there alongside him, I think Superstar is very realistic for Karl Anthony-Towns within the next 12 months, but right now, I don't feel comfortable putting him there. Next up now, we have Myles Turner, who I think is somewhere between the All-Star to the starter category. He's someone that, you could argue has all-star potential moving forward, but as of right now, I'm putting him in the starter category. Good big, can protect the rim, good defender, a very high-level defender, actually, and someone that can space the floor as well in the offensive end. But for me, just isn't quite at that all-star level, so he's going to go starter. Next up now, Kevon Looney, I'm also going to put in the starter category. Not as good, or at least maybe... not as good as Myles Turner, but still a very impactful player, specifically on the defensive end. It was a big part of those Warriors teams as they were going on championship runs with his ability to switch and stay in front of guards. Good player at starting caliber center, but not anything more than that for me, at least in Kevon Looney. Next up now, Jakob Hurdle. I'm going to go bench here for Jakob Hurdle. I think he's a rotation big. If he would be a starter, he would be on the very low end of the starters, so I think I'm going to put him in the bench category. Next up now, I'm going to mispronounce the name because I always do, but it's Zubats or Zubats. I know who he is. It's just the name sometimes gets me. For me, again, it's between starter and bench. I know that he starts for the Clippers, but honestly, I'm going to go bench here because Montrezl Harrell's the one that plays the starter minutes, and Zubac still needs to improve as a more impactful offensive player and his ability to move his feet defensively. He's definitely improving and moving forward. He could be a starting caliber center for a particular team, and maybe he'll get starting caliber minutes for the Clippers moving forward if Montrezl Harrell moves on after this season. But for me, I'm still going to put him in the bench category, even though I do like him. Next up now, Jarrett Allen is going to go in the starter category. Someone that can protect the rim, has a little bit of an outside shot that he continues to work on, and is an extremely active player in the paint as well. Really like Jarrett Allen. I think he's a starting caliber center. Next up now, Bam Adebayo. This is between All-Star and All-NBA. This is a guy that is an All-Star caliber player right now, but do you think that the ceiling for him from game to game, the impact that he can have on a game, extends all the way up to the All-NBA level? I want it to, but I'm not quite there. Bam Adebayo probably, again, just like Karl Anthony-Towns, within 12 months will bump up a tier and be an All-NBA caliber player, and he's certainly still young and still growing. But for me, I'm going to go All-Star for Bam. I'm not quite ready to put him at All-NBA. Next up now, Thomas Bryant. Again, a guy that technically starts, but I'm going to go bench here. Still needs to improve on both ends of the floor. Needs to get a little bit bigger and stronger. A guy that has the potential to be a rotation or maybe even a starting level big moving forward, but I think him being in this list has more to do with his situation in Washington than anything else. Next up now, Wendell Carter Jr. I'm going to put in the starter category. The thing that has held him back to this point in his career, in my opinion, are the injury things. And beyond that, I think that he is a starting caliber big with the opportunity to continue to grow into an all-star caliber guy moving forward. A very well-rounded player that can guard, has a little bit of outside shooting ability from the mid-range, and will continue to improve offensively as well. He's active, he's energetic. I really like Wendell Carter Jr. Next up now, Mitchell Robinson, I'm also going to put in the starter category as one of the better rim protectors in the entire league and one of the best lob threats and rim runners in the league as well. Needs to improve as a screener, needs to get stronger, needs to get better defensively at things other than just blocking shots, but as an athlete, has a huge impact on the game, and I'd love to see him in a different situation, in a winning situation outside of New York moving forward. Next up now, DeAndre Ayton, a guy that it's pretty tough to evaluate where he's at right now, because I think depending on the situation, you can make an argument that from a talent standpoint, DeAndre Ayton is maybe an all-star caliber player. We haven't seen that yet to this point, and so I'm going to put him in the starter category. Another player among many on this list that could bump up here within the next 12 months, but for me, still in wait-and-see mode on DeAndre Ayton, but he has at least shown enough to be a starting caliber big in the NBA. Next up now, Marc Gasol. This is a tough one. This is a guy that had a huge role on the Raptors last year, and this year's had some injury issues. I'm just because of what we saw out of him this year, and obviously didn't play a ton, I'm going to tentatively put him in the bench category. I don't mean any disrespect by it at all. He is probably still a guy that can start in the NBA right now, but with his age, with the injury stuff, I'm tentatively putting him as just a rotation big, obviously with the opportunity to be bumped up once he shows a little bit more, once he comes back and is healthy. Next up now, Brook Lopez, a guy that is going to go in the starter category. One of the more impactful bigs in the entire league because of the skill set that he provides and how well his skill set fits with his team in Milwaukee and how impactful it is for that particular team. His ability to shoot from the outside, although it is slightly overrated in terms of the percentage that he actually shoots, he is a good shooter for a big guy and one of the better rim protectors in the league as well, and fits perfectly within what Milwaukee wants to do. Starting caliber big, absolutely. Next up now, JaVale McGee. I understand that he starts for the Lakers, but kind of like Zubats, I'm going to put him in the bench category. I think JaVale McGee is a rotation level big at this point, but beyond that, like that's just kind of the guy that he's going to be. He can't really play starter minutes anyway. I think he's a rotation guy. Next up now, Derrick Favors, a tough one here because I honestly, screw it. I'm just going to put him in starter. I think Derrick Favors is still a good player. I still think he can start. I think he was in some tough situations there in Utah at times with Rudy Gobert being there and being so good, being a defensive player of the year caliber player. I think that Derrick Favors is still a starting caliber big, had a huge impact on that Pelicans team once he came back, and so I'm going to put him there. Next up now, Hassan Whiteside. Not my favorite player, right? But I still think that he is a starting caliber guy. Definitely on the downhill, definitely has some issues, but still when he's engaged, when he's locked in, can protect the rim, can rebound, can score inside because he's just a gigantic human. Need to see more from him moving forward, obviously, to go anywhere else other than starter and potentially stave off a move down to the bench spot, but still a good productive player. Next up now, Enes Kanter, I'm going to put in the bench category. I think that's where he is in his career right now. I think he is a rotation guy. I'm tentatively maybe could put him in the starter category, but Daniel Tice has been better for the Celtics and played, in my opinion, just better at the center spot than Enes Kanter, which makes him a rotation big. Next up now, Tristan Thompson, I do think is still a starting caliber player. Can really move his feet defensively, really good rebounder as well. Not going to provide you a whole lot else, but also really isn't going to hurt you a ton either because he covers up, those areas of the game that can be really hurtful defensively, rebounding, things like that. And offense, he's going to find a way to get some garbage points as well. Next up now, Jonas Valanciunas for the Memphis Grizzlies is a starting caliber big for me still. Can score in the paint, has experimented with some outside shooting stuff in the past, nice versatile player, and has so much size that he is at least average and at least usable on the defensive end, making him a starting caliber player. Next up now, Nikola Vucevic had an all-star season, I guess technically last year, didn't have that this season. I'm going to go starter for Vucevic. I feel like last year was kind of an outlier season for him, becoming an all-star, guy that can really score the ball and is on the upper tier of these starting caliber bigs, but for me isn't quite an all-star level player. Next up now, Andre Drummond. Incredible rebounder, right? And a guy that can get you a lot of points in the paint. I don't really want to, but I will put him at all-star. I think that he can make all-star teams. Let's put it that way. I think he can make all-star teams with his statistical production, and until that changes, I think I need to put him at all-star. In terms of his impact overall on the game, I don't know if he's an all-star caliber player, but I feel like I need to put him there. Next up now, Alex Lynn. I'm not going to take too much time on him or on Zeller. They're both bench rotation guys that are starting because of the situations that they are in. Dwayne Dedmon is going to go in the same place. Bench guy for me. Rudy Gobert is a all-star to maybe all-NBA caliber player here. Yeah, I'll go all-NBA because this is a guy that is going to make all defensive teams. He's going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Is relatively limited offensively, but continues to improve on that end, and I think he is an all-NBA caliber guy. Next up now, Steven Adams. The question is, are we going starter or are we going all-star? I think Steven Adams is a very, very good defensive big, good pick and roll partner. I'm going to keep him in the starter category. Dwight Powell, same thing. Hopefully he recovers well from his injury. He is going to go in the starter category, as is Clint Capella. And then, obviously, when we get to the end here, these are the two names that you knew were going to go in this category. Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, I almost called him Nikola Vucevic, going in the superstar category here. These are two of the best, if not the two best, big guys in the entire league. The only competition there really is Karl Anthony-Towns. And yeah, there you have it. That is my list of the best starting centers in the entire league ranked here. And yeah, that is going to be the end of today's video. And I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.